The Nature of Reality by Bandra. Welcome to Conversations That Awaken, a podcast where science, philosophy, psychology, mysticism, and direct experience come together to explore life's deepest questions. What is reality? Who are you beyond your thoughts, beliefs, and stories? Is consciousness merely a product of the brain, or is it the very foundation of existence itself? Join us as we journey beyond assumptions, challenge conventional thinking, and investigate the mysteries that have fascinated humanity for thousands of years. This is more than a conversation. It is an invitation to awaken to a deeper understanding of yourself, the universe, and the extraordinary reality we all share. Welcome to Conversations That Awaken.
Usually when we talk about like a medical diagnosis, there's this underlying expectation of just absolute precision.
Oh, for sure. It's like engineering or something.
Right. You fall off your bike, you break your arm, and the x-ray shows that, that jagged, undeniable white line running right through the bump.
Yeah, and the doctor just points at it and says, there it is.
Exactly. It's completely binary, broken or not broken. It's super clean.
It's a yes or a no.
And honestly, it's incredibly comforting because as humans, we deeply crave things to be visible like that. We want them categorized.
Oh, absolutely. We want everything neatly boxed up and labeled so we know exactly what we are dealing with.
Right.
We want a map that just perfectly represents the territory, It gives us this sense of control over our environment.
But then you step away from that physical x-ray machine and you wade into the world of human identity.
Yeah, the messy stuff.
Exactly. You step into deep psychology, the architecture of belief, and like the very fundamental nature of reality itself. And suddenly that x-ray machine is just completely useless.
It really is.
We're looking at a landscape that is, well, honestly, it's murky. It's shifting all the time.
It is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Yeah.
Because in the realm of psychology and, philosophical truth, the lines we think are so permanently drawn are very often just illusions that we've all kind of silently agreed upon.
And that is exactly the territory we are venturing into today. So welcome to the deep dive. We are so thrilled you're here with us.
It's great to have you all here.
Today, our mission is to explore this massive stack of profound philosophical and psychological sources that challenge, well, the very foundation of how we perceive reality, our identities, and our place in this vast universe.
It's a big one today.
It really is. And right at the outset, I have to mention the work of Bandra, whose insights basically form a massive part of our foundation today.
Oh, absolutely. Bandra's work is essential here.
When we first started looking into Bandra's synthesis of these ideas for this deep dive, I realized almost immediately that we were stepping onto some incredibly sacred, highly sensitive ground.
Yes.
Because we are about to ask some of the biggest, most uncomfortable questions a human being can possibly ask themselves.
We really are. We're putting the entire architecture of human belief under a microscope.
Yeah.
And because of that, because we're diving into such foundational bedrock concepts, I think it is absolutely vital that we set the stage properly for you, the listener.
Totally agree.
We have to draw a clear perimeter around what this conversation actually is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't. Because, we are navigating the insights of Bandra here, and this leads us right into this deeply sensitive terrain.
Right.
For many people, religion and deep beliefs are not merely a set of beliefs. I mean, it is family, it's culture, it is identity, memory, community, hope.
Yeah, it's everything.
Exactly. It is the very language they were given to make sense of life, death, suffering, and the sheer mystery of existence.
So let us be explicitly clear about what this conversation is and what it is not.
Right. Let's lay down those ground rules.
This is not an attack on religion. It is not an attempt to mock anyone's faith or insult anyone's tradition or proudly declare that one group has the truth while everyone else is just wrong.
No, not at all.
We are absolutely not here to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We are just impartially reporting on the philosophical and psychological frameworks provided in our sources, nothing more.
And we are certainly not here to violently tear down one set of beliefs, only to hand you a shiny new set of beliefs to blindly swallow.
Right. Because if we did that, what would we have actually accomplished?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We would have simply changed the wallpaper inside the same psychological prison. Okay, let's unpack this, because that right there is the trap, isn't it? The wallpaper analogy.
Oh, it's the ultimate trap.
The idea of just trading one set of rules for another without actually achieving any real freedom.
Exactly. It's a trap we fall into constantly. If we just handed you new alternative things to believe without fundamentally changing how you view the mechanism of belief itself, you wouldn't be liberated at all.
No, you'd just be in a redecorated cell.
Right. You might look around your psychological cell and think, oh, look, a fresh coat of paint, a nice new floral pattern on the walls. I must be free.
But the walls themselves are still standing. The iron bars are still firmly on the windows.
Precisely. It is not about telling you what to believe. It is about asking whether you have ever examined why you believe what you believe.
I want to linger on that for a second, because before we can even begin to analyze what reality actually is, we have to first examine the lens through which we view it.
A lens, by the way, that almost none of us actually consciously chose.
Right. So I want to ask you, yes, you listening to this deep dive right now, a very direct, maybe slightly uncomfortable question.
It's a tough one to sit with.
Were your deepest, most cherished beliefs actually discovered by you, or were they handed to you?
That requires some total unflinching honesty.
Just take a moment and genuinely think about it. Were they handed to you by your parents, your culture, your religion, your teachers, your society?
It's wild when you really trace it back.
It is. And let's do a little thought experiment together. Imagine for a second that a cosmic roll of the dice went differently. You were born in an entirely different country, into another family, surrounded by another tradition.
Right, like a small village in Tibet or 12th century Europe.
Exactly. If that had happened, wouldn't you be defending an entirely different version of truth today with the exact same burning certainty that you hold right now?
You absolutely would be, and that question alone should make us wonder.
It gives me chills, honestly. So here is the core defining question behind this entire conversation. Have you ever been told the truth about reality? Or have you simply inherited a story about reality?
And there is a monumental difference there. An inherited story is comfortable. It's a highly detailed map someone else painstakingly drew for you.
So you don't have to wander into the woods and get lost.
Exactly. But once you begin to truly see the difference between the inherited stories you've been handed and actual verifiable truth, something extraordinary happens.
You begin to question.
Yes, you awaken. And you don't question because it's some act of rebellion or just to be difficult. You question because questioning may be the beginning of actual freedom.
But, and I want to issue a massive warning right now, do not just blindly believe what we are saying here today.
Please do not believe us.
Seriously, we are not your new gurus. Do not take our words as the new gospel. You have to examine this, question it, challenge it, look for yourself.
Because this conversation is not for those who want another authority to tell them what to think.
Right. It is for those willing to ask, what do I actually know? What have I merely been told?
And what if reality is far more mysterious, far more beautiful, and far more extraordinary than any story we have inherited?
This is not an invitation to abandon your faith. It is an invitation to examine everything, including what is being said here.
Keep what survives your deepest inquiry. Let go of what does not.
Because awakening does not begin when someone gives you the final answer. Awakening begins when you finally have the courage to question the answers you were given.
And according to our sources, there are truths that were not made to be spoken aloud for centuries. Truths that, when uttered, have the power to crumble empires and silence temples.
Truths that have been buried beneath layers of dogma, fear, and blood. But you are ready to hear this truth. It comes as something you already intuitively know.
Deep down in your bones.
Exactly. The truth about who we are, where we came from, and why we are here is about to be revealed. And it has nothing to do with what we've been taught.
But if we want to get to that truth, we have to start with the most fundamental story of all.
Which is what?
The assumption that we are entirely fundamentally separate from one another.
Oh, this is a big one. Let's paint a picture for the listener to really ground this.
Go for it.
Walk through any busy city street. Let's say it's rush hour in New York City. There are thousands of people swarming past you.
Just a sea of humanity.
Right. And as you look at them, every single person appears to be a completely private, self-contained universe, each carrying a private world of memories, ambitions, fears, and hopes.
And human civilization is built entirely on this assumption. It is the unquestioned bedrock of how we organize reality.
Yeah, we have separate nations, separate families, separate religions, professions.
Exactly. It feels so incredibly, undeniably obvious that we are all separate that even suggesting we question it seems completely absurd.
It sounds like madness. But let's take a step back. Obvious appearances have completely and utterly deceived humanity before.
Oh, time and time again. The history of science is basically the history of us realizing our eyes were lying to us.
Let's talk about some examples from the sources, because this is wild. Think about physicists. They once looked at the physical world and thought, obviously, atoms are the smallest, solid, indivisible building blocks of matter.
Right, like tiny hard billiard balls.
Except they weren't. We split them. We found they're almost entirely empty space. The obvious solid table is actually a buzzing cloud of probabilities.
Or look at early astronomers. They looked up at the Milky Way and thought, well, obviously our galaxy is the entire universe.
Feels common sense.
Exactly. Until Edwin Hubble came along, looked through a better telescope, and realized those little smudges of light were entirely other galaxies. The obvious limits of the universe were shattered.
And biologists, too. They used to think that your genes completely rigidly determined your destiny. You have this gene, so you are hard-coded for this outcome.
But they don't.
Right. Epigenetics came along and showed that environment and behavior can actually turn genes on and off. The obvious idea of fixed biological destiny was entirely wrong.
So we have a very strong track record of being completely wrong about things that seem obvious to the naked eye.
Right.
So the question is, if our eyes lied to us about the solid table and the size of the universe and our DNA, is it possible they are lying to us about our fundamental separation from each other?
Let me push back on that, though, because I can hear the listener practically screaming right now.
I'm sure they are.
But wait, my individuality is real. I have my own experiences. My fingerprints are completely different from yours. My memories are mine alone. How do you reconcile this?
That is a totally valid point, and the expert sources completely validate this. Individuality absolutely exists.
Okay, good.
No one is denying that your fingerprints are yours. But let's use an analogy. Think of musical instruments. A violin is undeniably a violin. A piano is a piano.
Right. You can't confuse a tuba with a snare drum.
Exactly. The problem in our thinking is not that we acknowledge differences exist. The problem is the massive leap we made from acknowledging difference to assuming complete and ultimate separation.
Oh. So individuality exists, but it doesn't mean separation.
Precisely. The question is whether individuality is fundamental or just an expression of something deeper.
That makes me think of the alphabet analogy from the text.
Oh, that's a great one. Walk us through it.
Think about the English language. It has hundreds of thousands of words. They have completely different spellings, totally different sounds, and entirely different meanings.
They appear completely separate.
Right. The word elephant has nothing in common with the word serenity. But if you remove the 26 letters of the alphabet, every single one of those hundreds of thousands of words instantly disappears.
All that extraordinary diversity depends completely upon a deeper unity, the 26 letters.
Exactly. So could human existence be exactly the same? Could our billions of different physical forms and personalities just be different combinations of the exact same underlying alphabet?
That is exactly the profound question that the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer proposed.
Whoa, Schopenhauer. Let's get into this. What did he actually say?
He suggested that the apparent hard divisions between individuals are far less absolute than they appear. We actually participate in a deeper reality that transcends our individuality.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this makes compassion rational, not just moral.
Yes, let's expand on that.
Usually we think of morality as a rule. Be kind to your neighbor because it's the right thing to do. But if Schopenhauer is right, and we are deeply connected at the root, then harming another person is literally harming the network you yourself rely on.
Exactly. Harming the other becomes a literal form self-harm.
It's like discovering every room in a massive building is connected to the exact same electrical system.
Right, the electrical analogy.
Yeah, imagine you walk into a skyscraper. One room has a huge flashing neon sign. Another has a delicate little reading lamp.
The lamps are completely different.
Completely. The fixtures, the brightness, all different. But if you trace the wiring back, they all lead to a common source. They're all pulling from the exact same current.
The power source doesn't discriminate. It just provides the fundamental energy of light.
I love that.
Ah.
And there's a thought exercise from the sources that really drive this universal current idea home.
Oh, the I exist exercise. Yes, please share that.
I want the listener to really picture this. Imagine a child, an adult, a scientist, a farmer, and a philosopher. 5 completely different people. If you ask all of them to state the most fundamental truth about themselves, they will all say, I exist.
Yes, the universal declaration.
Now, obviously, the descriptions that follow those words will differ enormously. The scientist exists and is doing math. The child exists and wants a toy.
The narratives are wildly different.
But the existence itself, the pure fact of being alive, that does not differ at all.
Nobody possesses a private VIP version of existence.
Right. Nobody manufactures it. It arrives before every personal distinction.
But human society does the exact opposite. It encourages us to focus obsessively on our differences, labels, affiliations, subdivisions.
We're constantly subdividing. It's like humanity is a gigantic library where everyone is violently arguing about the designs on the book covers.
That is such a tragic image, but so accurate.
We are completely ignoring the fact that every single book in the building is printed on the exact same paper.
We are willing to kill each other over the covers, ignoring the paper that holds the story.
Exactly. And realizing this shared existence, the simple fact that something is happening rather than, that doesn't happen with like cinematic fireworks, does it?
No, not at all. It's a very quiet shift.
A shift from content to context.
Precisely. You shift from the drama of the book covers to the reality of the paper. And when you do that, the fear, the intense competition, and that deep isolation we all feel, it just begins to soften.
But that naturally brings up a huge question. If we share this one underlying reality, why do we experience ourselves as so fiercely, stubbornly isolated?
Where does the personal self actually originate?
Right. Where does it come from?
To understand that, we have to look at the blank slate. A newborn baby.
Okay, let's picture a newborn. That child arrives with no resume, no political opinions, no religious beliefs, no self-image.
Just pure awareness.
But the child enters a world that is already completely obsessed with boundaries and definitions. We immediately say, this is your name, this is success, this is failure.
And people often ask, is society being malicious for doing this?
Right, or parents the bad guys?
No, absolutely not. Society requires orientation. Language requires distinction. Education requires classification.
You literally can't function in ordinary life without them.
Exactly. The problem isn't the labels themselves. The problem happens later.
Okay, so what is the mechanism? How does a useful label become a prison?
Think of a museum curator.
I love this metaphor.
Imagine every day of your life. New artifacts arrive at the loading dock. Memories, experiences, traumas, beliefs.
So getting bitten by a dog, winning a spelling bee, getting your heart broken.
Yeah, right. And the curator meticulously catalogs them all, puts them in glass display cases, shines little spotlights on them.
Hangs a plaque below them.
Exactly. And eventually, over decades, a massive museum emerges. Now, visitors assume the museum has just always been there.
They never see the years of unconscious accumulation.
But we do this psychologically. We build a massive museum of memories and beliefs, bolt a sign on the front door, and call it me.
We call it me. Wow. And then we spend our entire lives violently protecting this collection.
Oh, we hire heavily armed security guards for it.
Seriously. Opinions must be defended. Our self-image must be protected at all costs. The museum becomes sacred ground.
And this isn't just philosophy. Psychological science completely backs this up with the concept of confirmation bias.
Right, confirmation bias. How does that work as the museum's security system?
Well, our brains selectively notice information that supports our museum's collection. We eagerly accept evidence that proves our exhibits are correct.
And we completely ignore or minimize any contradictory evidence.
Yes. And we don't do this out of malicious dishonesty. We do it because our very identity is heavily invested in these conclusions.
If the exhibit falls, we feel like we die.
Exactly. We defend the collection to defend our existence.
So what does this all mean?
It means this psychological museum doesn't just sit in the background storing the past. It actively filters and dictates how we experience the present moment.
It creates the very division we feel.
Because we start confusing our memory with reality.
Let's use an example. Think about meeting someone new at a barbecue.
Okay, yeah.
Within seconds of seeing them, your brain is categorizing them. Are they trustworthy? Boring? Average? Elite?
You're not actually seeing the person. You're scanning your museum archives and slapping a label on them.
Experience is no longer fresh at all. But why do our brains do this?
Evolution, honestly. The brain evolved for extreme efficiency and survival, not for objective truth.
Right. If our ancestors saw a rustle in the bushes, rapid categorization kept them alive. Is that a tiger or the wind?
Exactly. But today, in a complex social world, that same survival mechanism reduces infinite human beings to tiny labels. It compresses reality into oversimplified conclusions.
And Jiddu Krishnamurti talked about this, didn't he?
He did. His observation on this was brilliant. He pointed out that our psychological knowledge actually interferes with direct perception.
The known obscures the new.
Yes. The moment you look at a tree and say, that is an oak tree, you stop actually seeing the living reality of the tree. The word replaces the reality.
And modern neuroscience completely supports this. Perception is not a passive video feed.
No, the brain actively predicts and constructs reality based on expectation.
It's like a lazy graphic designer. It just loads up the saved template from memory instead of rendering reality fresh.
Which leads us to the terrifying cycle of separation.
Let's break down the mechanics of that cycle. The mind continuously compares, right? What I am right now versus what I should be.
Yes, the constant comparison between the present and the museum's expectations.
And that comparison creates distance. And distance creates massive dissatisfaction.
Which leads to frantic striving.
Right. We strive to achieve more, which solidifies our identity, which locks us into absolute separation from everyone else.
It is a self-perpetuating cycle built entirely on contrast. Winner and loser, friend and enemy.
But wait, let me push back again. If the personal self is just memory, and memory is creating all this painful separation, aren't we in deep trouble?
How so?
I mean, I need my memory. I need to know where I live, how to drive my car, how to recognize my family. Am I supposed to destroy my ego to find peace?
No, absolutely not. That is a crucial distinction. Memory is not the problem.
Okay, thank God.
The problem is our identification with memory.
Unpack that for me. Identification versus memory.
Let's go back to the library. A library contains massive amounts of information, books on history, science, everything.
Very useful stuff.
Incredibly useful. But the library building, the database of books, is not the reader walking the aisles. A computer database contains millions of records, but the database is not the user typing at the keyboard.
The container is not the content.
Exactly. Memory contains the records of your experiences, and it is highly functional and practical. But it does not constitute your ultimate identity.
Wow.
The separate self is a great biological tool, but it is not ultimate. You are the awareness experiencing the memory, not the memory itself.
The library is not the reader. That is incredibly liberating. It means you don't have to violently destroy your ego. You just have to stop mistaking the museum for the whole universe.
Precisely. You are the paper the story is written on.
Man, what an incredible journey we've been on today. To summarize how we got here, we started by questioning our inherited beliefs, exploring that sensitive terrain of how deeply those beliefs define us.
We challenged the obvious illusion that we are entirely separate units, looking at how our senses constantly deceive us.
We discovered the shared paper beneath our different book covers, that baseline, I exist, that makes compassion completely rational.
And we traced how our minds construct this museum of me out of necessary labels, which then uses predictive memory to filter and divide our reality.
It's just astonishing. And the quiet conclusion of all of this, when the psychological noise of comparison and memory finally settles down for a moment.
Something beautiful becomes visible.
Yeah. You see, the simple fact that reality is already complete, perfectly whole, long before human thought begins dividing it up.
It really is.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over on your own today.
Something to sit with.
If your identity has been built entirely by a curator collecting memories of the past, and reality is completely whole before your thoughts divide it, who were you in the silence between your thoughts?
That is the ultimate question.
Next time you find yourself aggressively defending your dusty museum, taking offense in a comment section or a meeting, take a breath, look around, and see if you can spot the common paper we are all printed on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Keep looking. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might benefit from the conversation. Your support helps us continue exploring the deepest questions of life, consciousness, and reality. I am Julia Carter, and it is my honor to introduce Joe Bandra, author, philosopher, speaker, healthcare technology pioneer, and lifelong explorer of life's questions. Through his writing, Joe bridges science, philosophy, psychology, spirituality, and direct experience in a search for truth. His first book, Finding Nevaeh, is a transformative journey of self-discovery and the search for lasting happiness. His second book, Body, Mind, and Machine, chronicles his remarkable career and the evolution of healthcare technology. His next book, The Nature of Reality, explores consciousness, existence, and the mysteries at the heart of human experience. Joe's work invites us to look beyond what we think we know and awaken to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
Life often feels like an endless list of tasks, constant noise and distractions, pulling us in every direction. We're all searching for happiness, but what if we've been looking in the wrong places all along?
This was Nevaeh's journey. Lost in the noise, she felt cut off from the peace and happiness she longed for, until she met Joe Bandra, an unconventional, insightful philosopher with a different perspective. Jay, as he is simply known, didn't hand her a map. He gave her something far more valuable, a compass, a way to turn inward, navigate her own thoughts, and uncover the clarity hidden beneath the chaos.
Readers around the world have been touched and inspired by finding Nevaeh.
Your journey to inner peace begins now. Get your copy of Finding Nevaeh, available on Amazon and at findingnevaeh.org, or listen to the audiobook on Audible, Spotify, Apple, and other platforms.